One March, I opened a bin in my cellar that held about 60 pounds of potatoes in October, and what came out of it was maybe 11 pounds, and a smell that got in my clothes. I had grown those potatoes myself in a good year with no blight in it, dug out of ground I had worked for much more 11 seasons, and I lost them in a corner of my own house in the dark over about 9 weeks, without once going down the steps to look. Now here's the thing nobody says out loud. Almost every gardening video you will ever watch is about the growing. It is all seeds and soil and spacing and water and bugs, and that is fine because that is the fun part of it. But you do not lose your food out in the garden. You lose it in the weeks after you bring it in. I want to walk you through 8 mistakes that turn a good harvest into a bad smell somewhere between October and Christmas. Some of these you will have made. I have made all 8. And I made 2 of them for about 20 years, running before an old woman down the road told me what I was doing. And 4 of the 8 are the same mistake, wearing different clothes. I will show you which 4, but not yet, because if I tell you now, you will nod along and it will not stick. So here is number 1, and it takes about 10 seconds to fix, and it is the one that killed my 60 pounds. You dig your potatoes and they come up covered in dirt, and every instinct you have says get them clean before they go in the house. So you hose them off and maybe you scrub at the stubborn ones, and they come up looking wonderful, all pink and gold in a row on the grass, drying in the sun, and you feel like you have done a proper job of it. You have just cut their life by 2/3. Here's what you have just taken off them. A potato that comes out of dry ground has a skin on it that is doing work, and around that skin sits a thin layer of dry soil that keeps the damp out and the air off. Water gets into every little eye and every scrape on that skin, and it does not come back off again. It sits in there for weeks. And the rot that ruined my bin starts in exactly those wet spots. Same goes for carrots and beets and garlic and onions and the winter squash. So do not wash any of it. Brush it off dry instead of washing it. Take a dry hand or a soft brush, knock the loose dirt away, and leave the rest of it where it sits. It is not dirty in a way that matters. You will wash it at the sink in January, the day you cook it, and that is when washing belongs. There is one exception, and it is worth knowing. If your ground was soaking wet when you dug, and the soil came up as thick clay stuck all over everything, you cannot leave that on because it holds water against the skin all winter. In that case, you rinse it fast in cold water and then you dry it properly. Spread out in a single layer with air on all sides for a couple of days at least until the surface is bone dry to the touch. Rinsed and then properly dried is survivable, but rinsed and put straight in a sack is a bin like mine was. Garlic gives folks the most trouble on this because a head of garlic comes up looking filthy, and there is a real temptation to peel that outer wrapper right off and get at the clean white underneath. Leave that wrapper well alone on the head. Those papery outer layers are the whole reason a head of garlic keeps 8 months. Strip them and you have got a bulb that dries out by Christmas. Which brings me to the second one, because that drying I just described is a shadow of something bigger that most folks skip entirely. Ask 100 gardeners what curing is, and about 80 of them will tell you it is something you do to meat. Curing a vegetable means giving it a stretch of time in the right conditions after you dig it and before you store it, so that it can thicken its own skin and heal over the cuts you made getting it out of the ground. And you did cut it, whether you noticed or not. A fork goes clean through things, a shovel nicks the shoulders, and pulling a carrot tears the fine roots off the side of it. Every one of those is an open wound, and every one of them is a door. Give a potato a week or two, somewhere around 55 degrees with damp air and no light, and it goes quietly to work on itself. It lays down new skin over every scrape and thickens the whole peel while it sits. So a cured potato has a hide on it that a fresh dug one has not got. Onions and garlic want the opposite conditions, warm and dry and airy, 2 to 3 weeks. and you know they are done when the neck at the top has gone papery and rustles and you cannot pinch any softness into it. Winter squash wants a week or 10 days somewhere warm, and the test there is your thumbnail. Press your thumbnail hard against the rind, and if you can dent it at all, then it is not ready. If your nail slides off it, put it away. Sweet potatoes are the odd one, and they want it hot and humid, near 85 for a good week. And if you skip that, they will not keep past Christmas, no matter what else you do right.
Everything I show on this channel, I have put down in a book.
2 of them, in fact. One is on the kitchen, all the parts folks throw out and never should. The other is the whole year, growing what keeps and holding it through winter with no freezer. Now, folks skip all of this for a simple reason, which is that curing looks like doing nothing. You dug the crop, it is sitting there, and every hour it sits in the shed is an hour you feel like you should be putting it away properly. 12 days of doing nothing buys you 4 months of eating. That is the trade, and it is not a close call. And there's one thing that quietly ruins a cure while you are doing it, which is light. Potatoes cured in a bright shed with the door open go green on the shoulders, and green means bitter, and it means something you do not want to eat, and cooking will not take it back out. So cure them in the dark, and an old blanket thrown over the crate does the job well enough. Beets and turnips and the rest of the roots want no curing at all, incidentally. Those go straight from the ground into damp packing. Curing is for potatoes, sweet potatoes, onions, garlic, and the winter squashes, and folks who cure everything are wasting a fortnight on half the crop. 3rd one now, and this is where I want to slow down, because this is the one that lost me 100 pounds of squash, and I only worked out why the following spring. Every harvest you ever lift gives you a range of quality. Some of it comes out of the ground perfect, and some comes out with a fork through it, or a soft patch on the underside, or a split down the side, or frost damage on the shoulder. And what does everybody do with the damaged ones? Everybody puts them in the bin with the rest because they are still perfectly good, and it feels wasteful to treat a perfectly edible squash any different. And you tell yourself, you will get to that one first. You will not get to that one first, and it will not sit there quietly waiting. A damaged vegetable in a stored crop does more than go bad early. It works on the ones around it as a source. It puts out moisture, and mold on it grows spores, and those spores land on the 6 sound ones touching it. And in 3 weeks, you have 7 going instead of 1. The old saying about one rotten apple is not a saying at all. It is a storage instruction, and somebody turned it into a proverb. So you sort it, and you sort it harder than feels reasonable. 3 piles, made as the crop comes out of the ground. Sound goes down to the cellar. Damaged goes into the kitchen to be eaten this fortnight or cooked down and put by some other way. Bad goes to the hogs or the burn pile, and it never comes near the house. Anything cut, bruised, soft, split, frosted, or growing something is in that middle pile. It does not matter how small the mark is. It does not matter that you feel bad about it. I put 100 pounds of butternut on a shelf one October, and about 11 of them had a soft spot the size of a coin. Come February, I had lost near half the shelf, and every rotten one was sitting next to or under one of those 11. One more thing folks miss on the sorting. Size is worth sorting on as well as damage. The very biggest of anything tends to keep worst, because a big root has more water in it, and a big onion often has a thicker neck that never dries down properly. Eat your giants in November and store the middling ones. Now, number 4 is the one that surprises people most, and it explains why your potatoes sprouted in December when they never used to. A ripening apple gives off a gas. That is not folklore, and it is not a theory. Fruit puts out ethylene as it ripens, and ethylene is the signal that tells other fruit and other plant matter that the season has moved on and it is time to get on with things. Put a box of apples in a closed cellar, and every other thing in that room is breathing that signal in all winter. Potatoes get it, and they wake up and sprout early. Carrots get it, and they turn bitter, and I mean genuinely bitter. That is a real reaction and not a matter of taste. Onions go soft at the neck. Cabbage yellows off early, and the squash goes over weeks before it should. Here is what makes this one hard to catch. It is invisible. It has no smell you can pick up, and it works slowly. So what you see in February is a cellar full of things that all went off early together and no reason for any of it. Keep your apples and your pears somewhere else entirely. A separate room, an outbuilding, a barrel sunk in the ground away from the house. If you have got no other room, seal them properly in a lidded box or a bag with the air pushed out and check them often. But a separate space is a great deal better. And there is a second half to this that catches people. Some crops are giving off ethylene and some are extra touchy to it. And the touchy ones sitting near the giving ones is where you get hurt. Apples and pears give it off hardest. Potatoes and carrots and cabbage are the ones that suffer worst from it. There is a thing you can do with this on purpose, mind, and it is worth knowing because it turns the same fact the other way round. If you have got green tomatoes come frost and you want them ripening, put one apple in the box with them. Same gas, same signal, only now you have aimed it at something you actually want to wake up. Now stop with me here for a minute because I have given you 4 mistakes and I said 4 of the 8 are the same mistake underneath. They are these 4 right here, and here they are again. The washing, the skipped cure, the damaged one you kept, and the apples in the room. And this is the part that took me 20 years to see. That potato in your cellar is not food. It is not food yet, whatever you call it. Now in December, sitting in a crate down in the dark, that potato is a live plant, and it is breathing. It is taking in oxygen and giving off water and warmth, slowly, all winter, the same as you are. A carrot in damp sand is alive. A cabbage on a shelf is alive. An onion in a braid is alive, and it is waiting to be planted. Every one of them thinks it is underground in winter, waiting for spring, because that is precisely what a root does. So storing food and storing a living thing are 2 different jobs, and folks are doing the first one when they should be doing the second. Look at those 4 again with that in your head. You washed it, so you took the skin protection off a living thing that has no way to make more. You skipped the curing, so you did not let it heal its wounds and thicken its own hide before the long sleep. You stored a damaged one, which is a living thing that is already dying and that will spread the dying to whatever it touches. You put apples in with it, so you sent a chemical signal to a living thing telling it the season has changed and it is time to wake up. Every one of those 4 is the same mistake. You treated a live plant like a sack of groceries. And here is what falls out of that, which is the useful part. The whole job of a cellar is not to keep food fresh. It is to keep a plant asleep. Cold enough that it barely breathes, dark enough that it gets no signal, damp enough that it does not dry out, and away from anything that would tell it spring has come. Once you have got that in your head, the next 4 go quick, because you will see them coming before I say them. Everybody in this country stores these 2 together. They come out of the ground the same month. They both go in the dark, and they end up in adjacent crates in every cellar I have ever walked into. They ruin each other, and it goes both ways. Potatoes want damp air around them, somewhere near 90%, which is properly clammy, and they need that or they shrivel on you. And a potato breathing all winter puts moisture out into the room, which is fine for a potato because that is the air it wants. An onion wants the opposite of that. 65 or 70% with air moving around it. Put an onion in the wet air a potato likes, and it will rot at the neck in about 6 weeks. That is the damage running one direction. Here is the other, and it is the one that gets missed. Onions and garlic give off their own gas as they sit, and it pushes potatoes to sprout the same way apples do. So the potato wets the onion, and the onion wakes the potato, and both of you lose. Different rooms altogether if you have got them, and different corners with real distance between them if you have not. Potatoes low down where the cold sits, and the air is damp in a slatted crate with a sack thrown over to block all light. Onions and garlic up high, braided or in mesh, where it is drier and the air moves. There is one more piece to this pairing business, and it costs people their whole apple crop. Apples want it cold and damp, near freezing, which is the same conditions the roots want. So folks think they can go in together, and it is only the gas that stops it. It is the right conditions with the wrong roommates in the room. 6 is a smaller one, but it costs more people more food than any of the ones I have named because it is the one that has no smell and no drama, and you just quietly get less. Ask a man where he keeps his carrots, and he will tell you the cellar. Ask him how damp it is down there, and he will look at you. Nearly every root crop wants air that would feel unpleasant in a house. 90% is about the mark, damp enough that a wall might bead up on you. A cellar that damp is doing its job, though every instinct says otherwise. A carrot in dry air gives its own water up to the room. It does not rot. It just goes limp and rubbery and pale, and you pull it out in January, and it bends in your hand, and you think it has gone off. It has not gone off on you at all. It has gone thirsty, and there is no getting that back. The fix is not to wet the room down. The fix is to pack the roots. Damp sand in a wooden crate is the old answer. 2 inches down first, then a layer of carrots not touching each other. 2 inches of sand over, another layer, and so on up. Sawdust does it, shredded damp leaves do it, peat does it. What you are making is a little wet climate around each root, and as a bonus, nothing touches its neighbor, so nothing spreads. Some things want the other end, and this is where folks come unstuck. Onions want it dry, garlic wants it dry, and winter squash wants it dry and a good deal warmer, near 55, which is why the cellar is the wrong place for squash entirely, and a spare bedroom is often right. One room cannot do both of those jobs at once, so stop trying to make it and split the crop up between two. If your cellar runs dry and you cannot fix it, there is an old trick that works. Set a shallow pan of water on the floor in the corner, or lay wet burlap over the crates, and wet it again when it goes stiff. Neither is clever, but both put water in the air, and a room that holds its damp is worth more to you than any crate you could buy. Number 7 happens weeks before any of this out in the garden on one particular afternoon, and by the time it bites you, it is far too late to do anything. Say you have got yourself a free Saturday. It rained through Thursday and Friday, and Saturday is gray but not raining, and the ground is soft and everything comes up easy. You would call that perfect digging weather, and it is about the worst there is. A crop lifted out of soaked ground goes into storage with water sitting on its skin and mud packed into every crease of it. It will not dry properly. The wet soil holds against the peel for weeks. And you have handed rot a start it did not earn. Wait for it to dry out instead. 2 or 3 days after the rain, ideally with a bit of wind, the ground will be harder and you will work more, and it will take you longer, and the crop will keep for months longer than one lifted easy. There is a timing piece on top of the weather one, and it differs by crop. Potatoes want the tops to have died back and gone brown first, and then 2 more weeks in the ground after that, because that is when the skin sets. Dig them while the plant is still green and the skin rubs off under your thumb. And a potato you can rub the skin off will not store, whatever else you do to it. Onions want the tops to have gone over on their own. When about half the necks have flopped, bend the rest down and leave them a week, then lift. Parsnips want frost on them first, and so do carrots if you can manage it. Cold makes them sweet, and there is no reason to hurry. Squash wants cutting with a good 2 inches of stem still on. Carry one by the stem, and it will snap off, and now you have a hole right in the top of it. A squash with no stem is a squash for October eating and not for storing. And the hour of the day matters some as well. Morning after the dew is gone, before the afternoon heat, is the best of it. How you carry it counts as well, and this is the least glamorous advice in the whole video. Do not tip a bucket of potatoes into a crate. Every one of those that lands hard has a bruise inside it that you will not see for 6 weeks, and a bruised potato is a damaged potato, and we already covered where damaged ones end up. Set every one of them down by hand, all of it, the whole way from the fork to the shelf, gets set down and never dropped. Last one now, and it is not a technique at all. It is a habit, and it is the one that turned my 11 pounds into 11 pounds. I put those potatoes down in October, and I next went in that bin in March. 5 whole months that bin sat there without me, in my own house, 12 steps down from my own kitchen. There was probably the one bad potato in there in the first fortnight, just the one, and I would have had it out in 10 seconds if I had gone down with a lamp. And every one of the 50-odd pounds I lost would have been eaten. A cellar is not a cupboard you shut. It is a thing you have to keep after, once a month with a light, and it takes a quarter of an hour. Smell the room first before you go in properly, because your nose gets used to it in about a minute, and you lose the reading. If the air is off, something is going somewhere, and you find it before you do anything else, then put your hands down into it. Your hands and not your eyes, because eyes miss it. Pick the things up and turn them over. A potato going soft feels wrong a good week before it looks wrong, and the one at the bottom of the crate is where it always starts because that is where the damp collects. Anything gone soft comes out of there. Anything sprouting hard comes out with it. Anything carrying a spot comes upstairs to be eaten this week. Keep a bucket by the cellar steps for the ones that come out. That way you have got somewhere to put them, and you do not stand there talking yourself into leaving one in because you are holding it, and it seems a shame. And while you have got the lamp on, look at the numbers. A cheap thermometer on the wall and one of those little dial gauges that reads the damp. If it is warmer than 40 down there, open a vent on a cold night. If it is drier than 80, damp the sand down. 15 minutes a month is what that costs you, set against 50 pounds of food. So there they are, all 8 of them. Washing the crop before it goes down. Skipping the cure and putting it away raw. Storing the damaged one alongside the sound ones. Apples in the room with everything else. Onions sitting in the same corner as the potatoes. The wrong dampness for the crop you have got. Digging on a wet Saturday because it was easy, and never once going down there to look. Now there is a part of this I have not touched, and it is the one folks ask me about most. Everything I have said today is about keeping a crop alive and asleep in the ground or in a bin. There is a whole other half where you kill it on purpose, dry it, salt it, put it in a crock, and it keeps for a year instead of 4 months. Those 2 ways of keeping food pull in opposite directions, and most folks mix them up and lose both.